Hello everyone, Iffat here. So today I'm going to talk about different techniques of formative assessment. As a language teacher, we all have to do some sort of assessment, summative or formative. You already know that formative assessment, it means a range of informal or formal assessments that can be conducted during the learning process. So you can do that in your classroom. And basically, we teachers do this kind of assessment to monitor our students' progress. Also, we can provide feedback, and we do it to guide teaching decisions to improve learning outcomes. That summative assessments can be done actually at the end of the learning process, or maybe at the end of the semester, that can evaluate students' learning just at the end. But formative assessment is more like a continuous assessment. So you do it throughout the whole learning process, your classroom. And a good example of this kind of assessment is, in your class, you might include giving your students short quizzes or having discussions to check their understanding of any concept, maybe grammar concept, maybe a literary piece concept, before moving on to any complex lessons. So now I'm going to move on to my main points, that some techniques of formative assessment. And here I'm going to share my slides. So here it is. Yeah. Okay, let me start from the beginning. Formative assessment techniques. So as you can see, the subheading, which is practical strategies to check understanding and guide instruction in real time. So let's see what we can do about it. Okay. All right. So I already have talked about this, what formative assessment is and why it matters and how is it different from the summative one. Like, as I told you, summative assessment, they are like, they're high stakes, summative assessment, but formative assessment, which is continuous, they're pretty much low stakes because they are going to focus on the learning process rather than the final outcome. Okay, so here I begin. Number one is a very interesting technique, and I found it quite useful in my classroom, and it is called exit tickets and slips. So what you can do is you can have some specific, quick, major questions that will target specific learning objectives and concepts. And it will help you with some quick check, like you as a teacher will be able to assess understanding within minutes at lesson set. Like you are teaching some kind of grammar rule and you just ask one or two questions to your students, then you get the answer and you will be able to give feedback immediately. So when you give the feedback immediately, students will be able to take it in, and then you can actually gather insights to inform the next lesson's direction. So this is very interesting. You can try it in your classroom and it's easily adaptable. Then we have another one, classroom polls and voting. This is very interesting to me. I mean, also very helpful because with the use of AI tools, you can do it. There are some tools like Mentimeter, then straw poll. Also, there are like Kahoots, which is for quizzes. But if you want to take anonymous voting in your classroom on some kind of topic, maybe you have a question when you are in the middle of a lesson and you want your students to be more engaged in your discussion. So you open the poll. Just make sure you have internet access in your classroom and your students are allowed to use such devices. So you can do this voting and polls in your class. All right, so you can have a real-time snapshot of the entire class where they can understand anything or not, or you can also check their confidence level. And this voting and poll, it's anonymous, so student will feel safe that their names are not displayed. And you can also make sure that, yes, it's working. And you can also identify some misconceptions, like you can easily spot common errors and address them immediately once the polls and voting are in. And Then we have something that I really like, which is think, pair, share. So when we say think, you have your students to do some brainstorming, to formulate their own ideas on any topic, but they do it independently. You throw some topics, you throw some ideas, and you make them think. Then you make sure that students are sitting in pair, like two people, one together. So they can choose their partners on their own, or you can help make them in pair work. Like you can put two students in one place together, make them work. Just make sure they're feeling comfortable doing these things. And there they will be able to discuss their thoughts between them to refine their understanding. And then the part of share. So together they can present their combined ideas to the whole class. They can come up in front of the classroom. You are there to guide them, to facilitate them. You encourage them. And the students, one by one, they share their ideas. This is a very interesting and very useful approach, and it actually helps those students who are very much scared to talk in front of the class. So especially alone, they don't want to go in front of the class and talk about it. They feel like, what if somebody, gets at me? What if somebody just says something if I make mistake? So if two people go together and do it, you will notice that this fear of speaking anxiety, that fear of being in front of the whole class, it might reduce. So this collaborative approach builds confidence, and it will definitely develop communication skills, while it will also help your students have some better comprehension of the topic. So try this one in your classroom and see how it works for you. And questioning and dialogue, teachers love asking questions every time. It's the students sometimes they don't want to answer. And there is always one student who will definitely ask you a question, and others, they just tend to listen. So anyways, you can have open-ended questions in your classroom when you're teaching a topic. And you can pose that question that will require some explanation, not just yes, no. That will require your students to answer in details with examples. So you have to encourage your students to articulate with reasoning and demonstrate deeper understanding. And you can also probe deeper thinking. You can use some follow-up questions to explore why and how behind your students' responses. And also you can scaffold responses. Like you can provide support through some strategic questioning. Like maybe your students are not able to make the right question. Help them. You give them some guides, give them some cues, help them develop the questions in a better way. All right. So these three ways you can actually help them ask the right questions, which will definitely lead to critical thinking. That is very important for our students, even for us in this age of AI. And then we have just this one, self and peer assessment. I think many of you already use it. I have also used it in the classroom. So this is where the students will be able to reflect on their own learning. They can evaluate their own progress against some criteria that you set them. And you set for them, and you can actually motivate the students to do this when they're not like studying or doing anything. And you can even provide some constructive feedback, like you can do it, but you can also help other students give feedback to them, and just tell them that they have to accept the feedback well. And you also tell your other students that when you're giving feedback to your peers, to your friend, don't be too harsh or critical. Okay. And just try to develop critical thinking among your students when you help them analyze their work step by step. Okay, it's not just working on the surface level. So you help your students understand it to the deeper level, step by step. So this kind of assessment is also part of formative assessment. And as a teacher, you can do it. And you can see if your class is really progressing or not. So once again, you can get immediate insights and you can adjust your instruction based on the real-time student understanding. And that is really, really helpful when you do the formative assessment. And of course, it can help reduce anxiety among your students. You can know what your students are feeling and what you can do about it. And also you can help your students participate in the discussion and also questioning strategies. So help them be better in every class. And one more thing that is very important, not every student learn in the same way, and not every student will express in the same way. So you as a teacher will be able to identify and address gaps before they become larger issues in your classroom if you do the formative assessment in the right way. So you have to choose the right time. So that was more or less about it. I hope I am able to make you understand what formative assessment is and what kinds of formative assessment you can implement in your classroom. So start small and be very consistent, like use formative checks regularly, and let your students respond genuinely, and make sure that your teaching is also being influenced by that, and make it visible. Share what you're learning about their understanding. Make sure your students also know that you are also learning from them, and try to encourage them openly and honestly. Like, try to create a safe environment for them where not knowing something is absolutely okay. So that's it. I hope you can implement any of these techniques in your classroom, and all the very best. Thank you.